Hello, it's Emil from Mindful Movement Coaching. Today's video, I want to talk about the windmill. Now, typically we'll see the windmill performed as a kettlebell exercise, but I also think it's a really valuable exercise just to do without any weight. And in another video, I'm going to show you how to use a band. But I want to go over some things I am observing when people are doing the windmill. And so I'm going to reference triangle pose in yoga. And then I'm going to reference a hinge and thinking about the application of a hinge when you do your windmill. So I'm not a yoga expert, but doing some yoga, a triangle pose, as I see, is when you kind of reach out and you come into this direction here and you're leaning, right? I'm seeing a lot of people do a kettlebell windmill with weight over their head and going into this direction, bending over, and you're putting a lot of shear force and strain through your vertebral column as well as the lateral portion of your torso. When you do a windmill, I would encourage you to think about doing a hinge. Now, your foot placement is going to have some influence on this too. So I'm going to use a pole to help give you an idea of what I'm talking about here. So when we do the windmill, I'd like you to start with your feet about shoulder width apart, and then you're going to angle your feet at about a 45-degree angle. Now what I'll do here is I'm going to take a pole, I'm going to put the pole at my back, and what's helpful is to make sure that the hip is going to go in this direction here. I want to have this shoulder holding the bottom portion of the pole. Now the pole is in contact with my sacrum, my thoracic spine, and the back of my head, and that's giving me some tactile feedback that I'm maintaining good postural alignment, and I'm not going to bend or create a torsional force through my torso or my spine. The other hand's going to go behind the nape of my neck. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to call this my lead leg. That knee's going to bend a little bit, and I'm going to send my hip back and rotate a little bit, allowing this shoulder to go through some rotation. So this is some thoracic rotation. Now, I don't have a whole lot of mobility through my adductors and my hamstrings, but just working the pattern of movement here and encouraging to do a hinge with this little drill will help set you up for a good kettlebell windmill, or even just the windmill without any weight. I like doing it with a band actually, and I'm going to show you that in a minute. So again, to review, what we want to avoid is just kind of being in this position here and leaning over. There's no excursion of the hip producing a hinge. So when you do that windmill, right, if you've got weight over your head, you need to have some stability. You want to protect your spine. So make sure you're hinging in this position here. So sending that hip back and getting this rotation up on top. If you're just keeping your hip fixed over your foot and bending over, you could hurt yourself. That's my opinion on that one right there. All right, stay tuned, and I'm going to show you a drill you can do with an exercise band. Okay, so you saw, and I talked to you through how to do the drill, the windmill, practicing your windmill with a pole. And that again gives you some feedback as to some postural alignment through your vertebral column, which I think is very important. And you should master the windmill before trying to do a bent press, if any of you are interested in doing the bent press. Now, one way I have found to successfully work the windmill is using a band. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to have the band situated behind me like so. And what will happen is I'm going to bring my hand in front, so the band will come in contact with my body. But what I want to do here is the band's going to sort of give this impression we call proximation through the shoulder, the glenohumeral joint, as well as the shoulder complex. It's going to give you some confidence and stability to hinge and maintain, again, good postural alignment. Now I'm not going very deep, but I'm focusing on the quality of movement. So when I reference quality of movement, I'm focusing on getting my hip to move into a hinge position versus just bending over. So again, using the band here, this is a great little drill. I like combining windmills with goblet squats. and you'll see that in another video. All right, if you have any questions with this one, shoot me an email at emil@mindmovecoach.com, or you can leave a comment in the bottom of the video in the description. Have a good day.